All right, we are live for Badass Women Wednesday, revolutionary and radical female entrepreneurs. I am Ivy, the body relationship coach, if I can say my own name, at cbodyloveself.org. And this idea came to me because I know so many badass women in my life, and I have a really awesome tribe and network. And I was like, you know what? I want to share these women with the world and celebrate them. So I picked 3 of my most favorite to start the night out and asked them to come hang out with me tonight so we can chat. So they're here.
Yay! And we're happy to be here.
This is the Radical Selfie crew. If you all haven't heard of them before, Akila, can you type in the comments so they can get your link for the Radical Selfie goodness, and you guys can check them out whenever you feel like it. But let's start from clockwise and let everybody. I hope we all have the same view, but let's let everybody introduce themselves. I think that's you first, Mo.
I knew it.
Like, why she gotta call you?
Okay. Hi, my name is Monique Halley, or Monique Allison, and I'm a relationship clarity coach for women. And so I help women go through different phases in their relationship journey. And as we continue, I'll share more about that. My website is relationshipclaritycoaching.com.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about just you personally, like some of something that we don't know? Like,
I know, I'm like,
something unique.
Something unique.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're putting me on the spot. Let's see what's unique about me. I took guitar lessons a long time ago. And I still have the guitarist in my attic, but you know, one day I'll go back and take lessons and you know, try to do the guitar thing, but that's something different.
That is different. I didn't know that. Well, yeah, I knew that you
I actually
go ahead.
So I'm sorry. I actually made the guitar case, like I hand sewed it, got the material and got my brother to do some art on it and everything. Like I went all in. And then I stopped. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I definitely didn't know that. So I'm like, do I really know you like that? Now look at Charlie trying to think before we. You're up, Charlie. It's your turn.
I'm Trelawney Michelle. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Cool. I'm a spiritual writing coach. So what I do is I help particularly women, you know, who want to write and maybe they are perfectionists or they're procrastinators, both of which I closely identify with, and I help them get it done. Usually they have like really long to-do lists as well, but they are still ready to do it, and I help them do that. My website is sofundamental.com. And I'll be talking about more what I do also later. And I'm a mother of 2 beautiful children, a writer. I have 3 books, What the Devil Meant for Bad, Getting Across, Purple Petals, and I have one coming up, which I'm super duper excited about, which I'll also talk about more later. And that's Women Who Ain't Afraid to Curse when Communicating with God. And that title even still just makes me feel and that's...
Let me give you some feels for that one.
Hey.
Yeah, you got happy about those feels. All right, Akila, you are up.
All right, so there's a little delay after, so hopefully y'all can hear and see me just fine. I'm Akila S. Richards. I'm over at radicalselfie.com, and my work is really about helping women remember how to explore and express themselves. I just believe in being you as often as possible. And there's so many layers to life that, you know, cause us to be everything but who we are. And my work is really just about unearthing that space and uncovering those layers so you can really be you in business, in the mirror, in your relationships. And I just love being in spaces like this where we're talking about what it takes to be you more. That's it.
Awesome. And like I said, I am Ivy, and I'm the body relationship coach. And I help people develop loving, healthy relationships with their bodies. And so when people have broken relationships or distance with their bodies, or if they're struggling with body image, I support people by helping them use holistic health and self-care to reconnect with their bodies in a loving way. So that's me. So the first thing that I want to ask tonight is the easy question, the most important question, and that is, what makes you a badass woman? So let's start with Akila.
That's easy. That's an easy question. What makes me a badass woman is the tribe that I'm a part of. Like attracts like, and there's mirrors all over the place. And a part of how I know how I'm living is badass is the type of woman that I attract in my circle. So just the self-expression work.
Everything you said just broke up.
Is that a signal?
Yeah, you were breaking up.
Oh, I was like,
I didn't know what that was.
I was like, were they wires? I thought they were wires.
I was like, she putting gang signs. I mean,
okay, you want to try it again?
Do over.
Okay.
Yeah, you're still.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
You're not here.
You might have to leave out and come back in.
Logged out and I'm logging back in.
Okay.
So let's see. Okay, good. Okay, I see my hey, I would say that's better. So for me, what I think makes me a badass is the tribe that I roll with. Like the women who are in my circle, the evidence that I attract, what it is that I am, both on both sides of the coin, both in friendships and both in terms of clients. And so I know I'm going the right way when that's happening.
Okay, I feel like I know what
Yeah, better. I know what she said, but I don't know what.
I know what she said too, but everybody else is probably like, "What?"
I'm like, my intuitive voice tells me that you said it's the people you attract.
Yes,
she's
going the right way.
And her tribe. There we go.
Yes.
Oh. Okay. Trelawney, can you share with us what makes you a badass woman?
Yeah, I'm going to kill on this one. This is a pretty easy one, fortunately. What makes me a badass woman is that I'm not afraid to do it anyway. Like, even when I'm scared to do something, if I really want to do it, I'm going to still do it. I'm going to take those super big old risks and chances, and I'm going to do it anyway. What else makes me a badass woman? That I actually created the life that I wanted to live, that I wasn't afraid to quit the quote unquote the security, to quit the job and do it on my own. I wasn't afraid to, well, I did it anyway. I pulled my son out of school and I decided to homeschool him. That I actually have a yoni egg inside of me right now.
That is badass.
And that I'm not afraid to curse when communicating with God.
Wow. I don't know if I could top that.
That's probably it for me tonight.
Right.
You think so? Okay. I'm assuming I'm next.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so BadAss. Okay. I left my 9 to 5, and I have a son. I'm a mom of a 10-year-old son. At the time, he was like 6 or 7. And so my son has chronic illnesses. And so it's the same thing like Trelawney, the security of health insurance and not really having the means to really, really do it. But when something doesn't feel right, just being badass enough to do something about it and not just settle. You know what I'm saying? And so I left my 9 to 5, figured out a way to get health insurance for my son. And being an entrepreneur and just surviving. My son has chronic illnesses. He's had over 20 something surgeries, and just having the emotional resilience to deal with that, to still be smiling, still be in good spirits, still have a positive and optimistic attitude about life. And, just expecting great things for him despite the health challenges. But just doing that and being authentic and just doing something about stuff that doesn't feel right. So I think, that's.
Yeah.
I have to remember that one. Doing something about stuff that doesn't feel right. That's tweetable.
Yes. Tweet as Oprah says.
That's right.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's badass. I left a 7-year relationship and that I got lost in and didn't settle, didn't stay for the external, I'm married and the title and all that stuff. I just, I had to find myself and do what I had to do, even if I was going to be a single mom. So that's, a lot of people settle in situations like that, but couldn't do it.
Yeah, all of that is definitely badass. For me, I would say that one of the first things that comes to mind for me is that I went from over 25 years of body hate, of low self-esteem, of feeling down about myself, being separated from my body, feeling pain when I looked in the mirror, meaning pain with my reflection that was looking back at me, to becoming a person who worked through that pain, who did the work, who did the healing work, who faced the things that were issues, to come on the other side of that and become a person who is now sharing that journey with other people and helping them do that healing and do that work and encouraging them to love their bodies and telling them that it's possible. To me, I feel like that's the most badass thing that I've done in life.
Yes.
And to come from, a background of abuse, physical, sexual, verbal, all kinds of abuse that you could think of, and to become a woman who's confident and bold and strong and who feels beautiful in her own skin, and to be able to stand in that and then help other people find that. I feel like that's very badass. So that's my badass.
Yeah, that is.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So what would you say was the thing that caused you, I know one of the things that we all talked about was, and this can just be open for whoever wants to jump in there, we all talked about going after the thing that we wanted. What was that thing that made you say, you know what, I'm tired of being in that space, whatever that past space was, or that hurt, or the things that we had to recognize that we wanted to change, and to say, you know what, I'm going to get up, I'm going to do something about it, I'm going to change it. I think, Trelawney, you even talked about, changing the things that we don't like. You said the same thing, Mo. What was that thing that made you say you wanted to make a change or make a difference?
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So for me, it's a series of things, and it actually is a continuation, because it started out back in 2003 when I was pregnant with my first daughter. I have two little girls. Well, they're not so little. One's my height, one's almost my height. But can you hear me? Monique? I couldn't tell Monique's face.
It's breaking up.
Yeah. Oh, I want to hear you.
I'll let someone else talk.
Oh.
I want to hear.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I'll let someone else talk.
Now we hear you, of course.
Yeah, I know, right?
Does anyone else want to share? And then I'll think of how I can help her fix this.
Yeah, I'll go. Mine was just, and y'all can hear me okay?
Cool.
Yeah. It was just like attracting women who, I don't want to say broken, but for lack of better terms now, I'm just like broken women who needed healing, and they just talked to me of all ages, on the job, wherever I was, at the hair salon, under the dryer. Women would just always share their stories with me, all these heavy ass stories, and I would just wanted to help, but I don't know, in a way I felt very limited. And then too, they made me realize that I needed a lot of work. And so I just started working on me. And then through that working on me, I don't know, I just wanted to share it because it was working. And two, another reason, I guess too, it just came to me, another reason why me a badass, because I'm not afraid to ask for help, you know, to actually voice up about what's wrong and to demonstrate, like I worked with all of you all, Ivy, Monique, and Akila. And so through all of that, it's just collectively, and like writing is my thing. Like that's my main source. That's my my go-to. That's what I do when I'm happy, when I'm sad, when I'm mad, when I'm numb, whatever. So I wanted to give that back, because then I realized too that you don't have to be a quote unquote writer. You don't have to be the one that blasted the essays back in school or whatever, but you can still do it, and you can still, benefit from it. So I wanted to give back and share that. And I think that, I don't even remember the question no more, but I think that answered it.
What made you want to just, I guess, come out of a space that you didn't feel good in?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. About the job space. That basically was just, I don't know. I've been in all the industries. I worked in the medical field, the legal field, retail, all of them. And it didn't matter where I was, university, it didn't matter where I was. It just wasn't working. It didn't matter what I was getting paid. It didn't matter what my coworkers were like, how cool they were. It didn't matter. So I was like, I just need to work for myself.
Yeah. I can go ahead and speak on that. And it's two spaces for me. It's relationship, of course, and then work. And so I was at a 9-to-5 for 13 years. Started when I was in college, and I literally grew up as an adult there. I graduated college, bought a car, bought a house, had a baby, got married, got separated. Like, I just went through a whole life cycle. And I kind of went to the level I wanted to go at the organization, and I wasn't growing. It wasn't nourishing me. I wasn't expanding. It was the same routine over and over and over. Taking the same route, getting on the highway, going in the parking lot, saying good morning to the same people, having the same thing for lunch. I mean, it was like 13 years of that. Like, oh my God! And so I was always, I'm a avid reader, so I'm reading a lot. I journal a lot. I dream a lot. I'm always thinking about what I want, and I wasn't getting that. I wasn't in a space professionally, and I started off hand making journals because I love journals. I figured out how to make journals by going on YouTube, buying the materials, and I just got into that. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna leave and make journals. So that's what pushed me out. I just wanted to be nourished. I just wanted to be around a different type of environment and different people, and just have different conversations and talk about different things to do in life. And I wasn't getting that. I wasn't being fed in that way. And so I decided to use, I was at a nonprofit. So I used my 504 and then I just took that risk and I left. And in the midst of that, I was in a marriage, and in that space, I completely lost myself. Like, I didn't even know who I was. I wasn't in touch with family and friends. My son, like I mentioned, had chronic illnesses, and I wanted to be more present for him. Like, he required a lot, and I wanted to be that. And it was the balance. It was just wanted to just be more present, and I wasn't able to do that because I was caught up in the drama of trying to maintain a relationship that it wasn't what I wanted. And so I just became more conscious of that, and I started taking notes, and I journaled and looking at patterns, and I'm like, something is not right. I'm not, I knew I didn't feel good. And I started getting more bold because I was very muted in my relationship. So I spoke up more. And when I was saying, hey, I want to, do different and make more conscious decisions, I was getting a lot of resistance. And to me, it doesn't feel good if someone is going to limit you from trying to grow, especially if it's your partner. So a lot of stuff is making more, I became more aware and conscious of things. And eventually I started taking steps. I created boundaries, and I got very bold in saying if these boundaries were crossed, then I was done. And I kind of just had to be more strong and stood up for myself more. And that, helped me to decide to end the marriage and leave the relationship. And I did that. And that's why I'm connected to that work, because I understood the emotional blockage, the limited beliefs that I had and other women have that keep them stuck. And so I was able to leave the relationship. I went through my healing process, personal responsibility and all these other things that I did. And I got to a space where I saw the choices that I made didn't get me what I wanted. And I just know I had to show up more authentically. It was just so many different things that I was doing, making health. And so I got
Yeah.
Here we go. Okay, so for me, what made me decide to pursue my dreams was the fact that I felt like little pieces of me were dying. And I know that sounds really strong, but at my last job when I was in corporate America, I started out on entry level and I wanted to move up to management. And I did that. I achieved that. And then once I got there, I'm on the top floor with my corner office, looking out the window. I did what I wanted to do. I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. But then I felt like I wasn't flourishing, like I wasn't blooming. I wasn't evolving. I wasn't growing. I felt very stunted, even though I had moved up in the executive world. It was like the creative part of me, the spiritual part of me. There was just more of me that felt like it was slowly dying. And I knew that if I didn't change it, that it was going to be detrimental to my soul. I know that sounds really strong, but
it is.
That's how it was. I was like, if I don't do something, I'm not going to make it. So I just started sitting with the concept of shifting my whole entire life, in order to accommodate what I knew that I needed to do. And because I got to that point where I knew that if I didn't make the shift, that little pieces of me were starting to die, I felt more okay with, well, this means that I'm not going to be able to afford these luxuries, and I got to sell all my furniture, and I got, I got to get down to a minimal lifestyle, and my budget's not going to be the same. And, I'm not going to have all these things that I thought were important, but I had a new level of what was important for me, and flourishing and growing spiritually and becoming who, it's like I had a glimpse of who I was supposed to be and who I could be. And like, I could see her, and I was like, you know what, I got to get to that part. I got to get to that Ivy. And sitting here in this desk, looking out the window at, in a corporate office is not the Ivy that I'm supposed to be. And so I just was driven by that small glimpse of finding that Ivy and becoming that person. So
that's so powerful. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it right there. I know so many people can relate to that glimpse of themselves. And it's just like, for those of us who know how to use that glimpse, that's why this sort of work is so important, because we remind other people just our own lifestyle how to honor that glimpse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, Monique is coming back in. I know one thing that Akila and I talked a little bit about today on Facebook, and I think that, you know, once you do start pursuing those dreams and you become an entrepreneur, I know that one thing that I experienced was that I went on like this mad rush to become like successful. Like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, because it was like, you know, I'm not on a salary anymore. I'm not making that money. I got to make money, you know, and it wasn't like a greediness. I think some of it was fear or anxiety or the expectation of what success was supposed to be. And so I found myself in that mindset of that of that grind. And so I want to talk a little bit about that grind, that expectation to be on the grind as an entrepreneur. And how did you ladies, did you feel that? And then how did you deal with it if you did feel it?
Well, I definitely felt it, just in the exact same way that you described it. And what helped me was, for when I felt it, I knew that it didn't feel right, and I knew that's not what I wanted. In my work through, I think all of us, and it was Akila and Katrina who had LiberatedBitches.com. We started off in that space, and that just kind of confirmed what I was feeling and gave me more too. It's like, you know, with the forcing versus, you know, flowing and trusting and operating from that space of lack, and just trusting that what you need, you know, you're going to have it, and that if it doesn't feel right, it's not right, you know. And so basically just that was like my real firecracker, that my starter there. But feelings, it's feelings. If it doesn't feel right with me, I don't know if it's I'm INFP, I'm Pisces, I'm a woman, all of that, whatever, Capricorn moon, whatever. But if it doesn't feel right, I can't rock with it. So like, I'm going to make a change. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm gonna get out of that space. And so yeah, that was it for me.
I love that about you too. I really love that about you, because we're taught, especially in the business space, that it's supposed to not feel okay. You know, everything is supposed to be boot camp type feeling, but that's not true for most of us.
Yeah. What about you, Monique?
The feelings matter, and that's why femininity,
I think I missed the question,
matters too for both men and women, because that feminine says that it's okay to feel.
Yeah. I think she's saying that it's okay to feel, like it's a part of the femininity, like and honoring those feelings.
Okay. So could you repeat the question again? Is it this, how do you manage the grind?
No, that's
question,
it.
or is
Basically, the question was, what did you say when you become an entrepreneur, how do you deal with that? Well, did you have that feeling where you felt pushed to get on the grind? Like, you know, like a lot of people like, oh, grind, I sleep when I'm dead, I gotta grind. Like, did you feel that when you first started out?
Yeah.
Yes.
She was asking about the question.
Oh my gosh, like all over the place. I definitely felt that. Yeah, I felt that because, you know, when you get out there, and I started, this was in 2010, and certain things were still pretty new, but I was trying to follow everything. You know, one expert says this, someone else says to do it like this, someone says you got to be like that. I just wanted to know, how can I be me and still show up in my work? And I didn't know that until I met Akila. Like, it was so refreshing. I was just saying the other day, like, wait, I could just be me. I don't have to put on the suit and do the picture, you know, where you act professional. And I could just like keep my locks down. I ain't got a ponytail, but when I had locks, you know. And it was like, wow. And it was so refreshing. So yes, I did the grind where I used to stay up late at night making journals, got to make the donuts, like, And sometimes I wouldn't go to sleep and just be up, take my son to school, come back and still be grinding. It's like that busy work, because it was that busy work. And I'm in such a better space now. I'm so thankful. But yeah, I did that. Like and I went to workshops and I did telestuff. I mean, I did it all. Like, and then you would still leave and I would still feel lost. And so I'm glad that I was able to find other women that just kind of give you that permission, or that you see show up as themselves and they're being real. And you're like, oh, I could do that too.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like,
all her giggles aren't catching up.
Yeah, I think her feed is a little bit delayed.
No, Keela.
Mine?
Keela's.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I definitely did that. I don't know if it's like a rite of passage that you go through, but if we can get to women before they do all of that craziness, they'll appreciate it. Because
sometimes I wonder if people need it though. If you need to experience it at least a little to better, to really appreciate and understand what it is. I don't know.
That's a good question. But because I think too, it's all in the mindset. Because if you believe you need to grind, then okay, go through the grind, and But if you feel like it shouldn't be a grind,
true,
and it could be a flow. It's all like your belief system and what you believe, because they tell you got to work hard. And I've heard other people say, you know what, it's not working hard, but it's working smarter. And then you can say, oh, okay, well, let me work smarter, set up some systems and have that work for me. And I don't have to grind and stay up late. So I think it's all in your mindset. And if you feel like you want to, because that even the word sometimes, like when you say like, oh, I'm hustling, like do you want to hustle or do you want to have a business? So it's all in the mindset. Like I don't want to do the 9 to 5 and have to hustle on the side. That is,
but it still can be kind of difficult too. Like when the money low, like when we hit the dips in the business, or something like that. When the clients aren't coming in, then it does. Even knowing what I know, it's still sometimes hard to stay out of the grind mode. To still trust, but. But yes,
I have a church moment over here.
I totally understand. It's Ivy dancing.
That's when it comes back to like what Akila taught me: trust in the process. Just knowing that I'm gonna be okay regardless. It's not looking pretty right now. It's not looking all good right now. But I don't have to grind. That's not in my values anymore.
I was having a church moment, Trelani, because I have been there. It's like when you start you look at the bank account, and then especially if you've been an entrepreneur because it takes a while to get your business to where it's really
to build up,
producing the way you can live your lifestyle, and breathe a little comfortable. And it's like, you start looking around and you looking at the calendar, and it's all right, it's all right. We're at the end of a year now. So, how long have I been doing this? And then you're looking at the bank account, and then, when that anxiety starts taking place, you start trying to think, okay, what can I do? And it's easy to fall into that, that pressure of, all right, let me do something to hustle or to grind. But I think that's our survival mentality too, is especially if you come from not having a lot and, you've been used to kind of like doing whatever you need to do to make the ends meet. And, when you move into that space of flowing, now you're in a space of trust and faith and allowing God and the universe to work. That's a different space than that hustle and grind space that maybe, I know for me, coming out of not having a lot growing up, it was like, okay, I was used to working 2 and 3 jobs to get what I needed. And that meant being tired. That meant being exhausted. That meant doing whatever was necessary to, pay college tuition and pay car notes and things like that. So I was kind of used to that. So it was a different space to shift into with this and say, don't do that. It's like I almost had to hold myself back and be like, don't do it. I just chill.
Yeah.
Just chill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've gone to Craigslist many times.
Wait a minute.
Like, okay,
yes.
Because I'm like, I still want to work from home. Like I can't go back to the cubicle. I was like, I can't. So Craigslist is gonna have to be it.
I'm not even gonna ask you anymore about the Craigslist. What you were looking at.
I want to
know. Oh my god.
So I mean, what do you do now rather than grind? What do y'all do when those feelings come up? How do you manage that desire?
I've gotten heavy into just it's my thoughts. Like I go into how can I look at this differently? What can I try to just have a mental shift and process it and put things in perspective. And it's a lot in the mind. Like I'll go, I know Akila have. I don't know if you guys have heard of Esther Hicks. Have you heard of it? So I'll feed my mind. I'm like, okay, I got to think positive and different, and I'll take action in certain things, but it helps me to just kind of get a peace of mind about whatever's going on and just get a sense of clarity. So then I can just make a different decision or just not worry. I don't like to worry. I value having a peace of mind, or I don't like being in fear. So when those things show up, I'm like, what's something I can do right now? I'm not going to get I may not get the money, the job, the client right now. Well, what can I do? And the first thing I could think of is mentally, like I could shift my mind. Yeah. And I definitely believe in the cognition where once whatever you think, it's going to generate a feeling and then you'll act that out. And so it's a process. So I'm always going to, how can I shift my mind to think about it differently? And I'm an optimist. And so, I just always go that route, or listen to music, get lost, watch a movie, then come back to it. Like it's so many different, you know what I'm saying? Things I try to do to just get through that moment.
Akila says, when the feeling of grind comes up, I write and reflect on successful moments where grind wasn't a factor. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. I pause for a moment on that. Oh.
Yes. Tweet, can I tell you how do you tweet that?
Copy it. You have to copy and paste. Yeah.
Damn.
Okay, got you.
Ooh. That's I need to sit with that for a moment. Okay. Yeah, that's powerful. That's gonna need. I'm probably gonna need that later this week. It's only Wednesday,
right?
Right, exactly. Message. So, how do we get to calm? How do you get to calm, Trelawney?
Mine is a lot like Mo's. I just think about what I can do right now, and usually when I try to consider my body, because my root chakra, if you will, is always out of balance. It's always in my hips and in my neck and in my shoulders. So I immediately think about that and how tense I am up there. So I might just do some neck rolls first. I just need to get away from the computer. I actually get away from work when I feel like I'm in that mode. I leave it alone, just totally. And I try to do something creative, just something. And because I write and my work is related to writing, I won't do that, but I might journal. I might just go do some coloring with the kids, or I'll just get up and go dancing. I have to do something physical. I love running too. I like to go running, just something to where my mind could just, if I, could focus on one thing, that kind of brings me, some calm, some clarity. And oh my God, and like Akila said, just those moments. And so, and I just like to think back to just feel good moments. And so like the feeling of it, like, how do I want to feel right now? That's Akila showing up again. Like, how do I want to feel? And so if I want to feel like money ain't an issue. If I want to feel free, I want to feel like, whatever isn't bothering me, what can I do right now to give me that feeling? And I try to do that. Like today, for example, it was just, I want to feel away from my environments. I want to feel, adventuring. So we went and did a nature trail. And it was $5 for the both of us, so, and that felt really good. So just doing what I can with what I can, depending on how I want to feel.
I love that. So, what about self-care? Like, how do we when all this is going on, the grind, the managing all these emotions, how do
Nice.
we prioritize our self-care as badass women who are, even if you're not an entrepreneur, if you're a mother, or if you if you're a manager or you work from home or whatever you're balancing, how do you prioritize your self-care when all of that's going on, yet still pursue your dreams at the same time?
It's okay. So self-care. Self-care for me is like I'm going to the bookstore, getting, like a latte or a tea or something like that. Going to the bookstore and I just having that time to myself. Like sometimes I just need to be by myself. I don't do the soaking in the tub stuff. Nothing is wrong with that, but I like to just get lost in my mind. And I like feeling just a soothing feeling. So drinking something hot, being in the bookstore, usually just helps me get in a good space.
Yeah, mine is being alone. I'm a mother, have 2 kids, the husband. So I always say like scat. I'm like scat rats. They know what I mean. I want to be by myself. And so now, I go to the room or I'll leave, whatever I feel like doing at the time, and just be by myself, and whatever comes out of that moment, in that moment, to me, that's just being by myself. And I love silence.
Yeah.
Like if I love music, but if I'm in that space, I don't want no music. I don't want no movies. Like usually I'm just reading, writing. I might, man, I don't know. I just want to be alone. Yeah. Solitude, silence. And I'm with Mo. I'm not much of a soaker either.
Yeah.
Akila says she asked how does she want to feel, and then she goes after that feeling to slow down and simplify her day.
Yes.
That's smart. Yes. And that sounds so simple. I love that
it does.
That pursuit. I know for me, I would say that I check in with my body first of all, and just what is my body telling me? Because a lot of times we can get so busy that we're not even noticing our body signals. I know that I've gotten into the grind so bad before that I've been gone, and I look up and gone all day, and I look up and it's like 3 p.m. and I haven't eaten, and I'm sure that my body along the way was saying, I'm hungry, and I'm like, oh, but let me finish this. Oh, but let me do that. Just kind of like pushing it down, or, taking a swig of water, like, okay, take that and be quiet kind of thing, So, or even just being tired, or, I've had a time where I've spent a whole bunch of time on the computer or the phone or whatever, and then the next morning I wake up and my eyes are like so like sand and dry and burning because I've been on electronics all day or too long, those signals that my body is giving me tells me what I need to do for self-care. So I try to just check in with my body and then follow those signals. And, when it's time to eat, stepping away from the computer, sitting down, eating somewhere that's not around work. If I'm tired, taking a nap, like literally, I'll go and be like, it's nap time. Like that. It's just simple stuff like that. It doesn't always have to be about spending money, or I think a lot of times as women we think, oh, I have to go to the spa, I have to go away to the tropical island and get some self-care. Like it could be something just every day, or sometimes I'll pause and go take a shower, and I know that sounds crazy, but because it's just like something about the shower.
It does.
Water,
it's refreshing.
Like getting my body oils from Smell Good Spa, and like shameless plug, and like just getting my body oil smelling good. It's like resets my day or whatever. It's like, all right, now let me go back to whatever. So
yeah, I think the main thing is just like pulling away, like, you know, stepping back, just kind of leave the thing that's making you stress and tense, kind of like just pulling back from that and just kind of give yourself some time and space, and then you know, visit everything, clear your mind. Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to ask, Charlie, I know on one of your Instagram posts, I don't know it exactly, but you have a quote, I'm sure you know it, where you talk about what being a womanist means for you. And you basically said that it means making sure that your Blackness and your gender aren't holding you back. So
correct.
I did want to ask, like, as a badass woman, how do we deal with those challenges that come up based on our gender and our race or anything else that might try to limit us, and how do we face those challenges and continue to pursue our goals?
Well, I guess it depends how it shows up.
Okay.
How it happens. Yeah. Because, you know, sometimes, like, you know, of course, we have the Black Lives Matter movement and everything like that. And that's kind of affecting all of us as a whole, even if, you know, if it's not individuals instance that happened to you. So I guess it depends how it shows up to how to answer that question.
Okay.
But mainly all we can do is the experiences that we do have. Like for me, for example, I feel like it's my responsibility to share. It's my responsibility to share how it happened, how it made me feel, how I am dealing with it. One example being, I guess the first one to come to my mind right now is Twitter just has something called like What I Hate About Hoteps or something like that. And it was like, it's about the conscious community. And something that I fear most about it is because it is a beautiful, empowering thing that's really necessary, but it does have a lot of stigmas associated with it. And mainly they hold women back. And they have a lot of things, you know, a lot of rights that we as women have, like particularly abortions. Like I've had an abortion before. I think it is a necessary right of women. To try to take that away from her, you know, it's especially as a man, because that's not your struggle. You don't know nothing about that. You don't have no business, in my opinion, even speaking on it. So like, that's one thing, for example, that I would speak out against. But yeah, like otherwise it depends how it shows up.
What about you, Monique? Have you experienced any challenges with balancing that your gender and any gender or racial challenges when it comes to representing yourself as a badass woman?
As a what?
Am I breaking up?
No. The last part of that thing went out for me.
Sorry. Okay.
That's okay.
No, I was saying, have you had any challenges, or how do you manage balancing your gender and racial challenges that may come up in business or in your personal life, and still maintaining yourself as a badass woman while maintaining all those challenges at the same time?
I haven't had any. The only gender thing that I can think of is being a single mom, you know, and trying to balance is just, I just own it. Like I know that, you know, I'm a mom and this is what I have to do, and I want to do it. And what I do, like Trelawney mentioned earlier, I ask for help when I really need it, and I seek out a support system. But, you know, I had to get comfortable with saying, you know, even though I'm the mom or the primary caregiver, I still need time. And it doesn't mean that I need time to do anything. I could be sitting on the couch scratching my ass if I want to. I just want time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't have to be me doing something major. I have to go do something that I just need time. And it's okay, because a lot of us feel guilty about that. We feel like, you know, judged. You know, if we're not taking care of our kids 24/7, the messaging around that is just, you know, you guys know already, it's not fair. And so when I really see moments, opportunities where I feel like being a mom or single mom is going to hold me in a space that doesn't feel good, I try to just be more conscious and aware and speak up about it. and say, wait a minute, like I don't have to feel any way about wanting some time to myself or not wanting to handle certain things. As a mother, I'm like, I'm a woman first. I'm a person. I'm a human being, first of all. And the roles, I get the roles, but sometimes it just limits you and keeps you in a space where, because you're a mom, you know, you're supposed to do these things. And it's like, no, I'm a person. And when you have two parents, it's like certain things is a parent thing. It's not a mom thing. And so the dad can do it and the mom can do it. Mm-hmm. But society has certain things where they have moms are supposed to do these things. And I know one of the things for me is school. Like with my son in school, I just always felt like, you know, if he wasn't doing well in school, it was going to be a reflection on me. Like I always took that on, and I'm like, I'm not the only parent. But so things like that, when I feel like being a mom would keep me limited or not make me speak up or ask for help, I try to just push through that and make sense of it and put it in perspective that, you know, I shouldn't have let this role that I'm playing hold me to anything if it doesn't feel good. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, I love that. It's basically you're not ascribing to these gender roles, and you're basically saying you're not allowing that to hold you back from being successful in what you want to do, just because there's like this mommy guilt or this expectation of what a mother's supposed to do or be or whatever when it comes to your son. Yeah. And then I used to feel a little guilty because my son has chronic illnesses and we're in the hospital all the time. We have a lot of things to do. And I used to feel like, you know, I shouldn't be having any fun or I shouldn't do anything because I have a son that's sick. And I should just be focused on that and nothing else should be happening. Like even with my business, like how dare you try to do a business when you need to be taking care of your son and all this is going on. And I'm like, no, you know, I could, it's a way to do it. It's a way to make that work. And then it works even better because I have the flexibility to be present, to be there for him. And then I'm very big on his emotional wellness. And so I'm like, I need this flexibility. I don't need to be reporting to a 9-to-5. I need to be able to do my own thing. And so I didn't let it be a crutch for me to say, well, you know what, let me just do a 9-to-5 because my son is sick. I need to have insurance. Yeah. I need to, you know, just do, you know, go about something this one way. And I didn't let that hold me. And then at some point, it did used to make me feel guilty, but I had to push through that and realize, you know, my life is different. Everybody's life is different. You have to redefine things in your life and not just go according to things the way society or anyone else tells you to do it, because everyone's life is different. Yeah. And you have to say, does it make sense for me and who I am and just what's going on right now? Because you could change your mind later. Yeah. You know, very true. I know I'm not going to go back to a 9-to-5, but if, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, make choices that makes sense for you according to what's going on in your life now. And so, you know, a 9-to-5 don't make sense for me in my life right now. Yeah. You know, I don't let being a mother hold me to certain things. I'm like, look, I'm a person first, you know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I always try to reserve my right, like what she said about, you know, changing her mind. I always make sure I reserve my right to change my mind. Yeah. Sometimes I think a lot of things that we say and that maybe even we write and put out there, then we feel boxed in by it, you know. So always something I constantly remind myself. I reserve my right to change my mind. Like at any moment, whatever it is, you know, I'm a change. I evolve. So, you know.
Yeah. And that's such a good statement, because in my marriage, I felt like, oh my gosh, I can't change my mind. I said the vows.
Yeah, I vowed. Yeah.
Like in front of people and friends and family, like, oh my God, you know, and that kept me stuck for a while. And we let certain things keep us hostage. But you're right. Yeah. You have a right to change your mind. And it was certain things that, you know, I made choices. It wasn't, I made choices not really thinking about them. And when I became more conscious and aware, and I'm like, I know I was doing this, but it doesn't fit anymore. I want to do this. It was like, oh no, I know you this way. You're supposed to be this way. You're supposed to do this one thing and stay in this box. How dare you try to get out? And and change your mind. And so, yeah, I reserve the right to change my mind. I have to remind myself of that a lot.
I love that. That's powerful.
Yeah.
And I know for me, like, I would say my gender challenges come as a fact of being a single woman and being like over the age of 30 and actually over the age of 35. And so, you know, I've heard for a really long time that, oh, you're too independent, you're too opinionated, you know, like you're too strong, you're, you know, men don't want a woman that's that strong, that opinionated, or that independent, that, you know, they'll feel that you don't need them kind of thing. And a lot of that came from like the religious sector, where it was like, you know, almost kind of like encouraging me to, like, I guess, dumb myself down or be weaker, so that it's like, oh, how do I fix this? You know, like be like the damsel in distress. Because then it's gonna make this, you know, make men feel better. I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I'm, you know, I'm ambitious. I have goals. I'm building a business. I'm pursuing my dreams. And it's like, if that, you know, I just got to the point where I was like, if that intimidates someone, then that's not the person for me anyway. So, you know, I just had to really sit with that. And I mean, I had other women tell me that, you know, you're going to have to like tone that down, or, you know, or whatever. As being an entrepreneur, being a single woman, and particularly being a single Black woman who's an entrepreneur, it's like, you know, that's intimidating to Black men and whatever, you know. I had to just release that and be like, look, again, going back to like what I said about the corporate world, where it's like a little piece of me would die if I had to, you know, pretend to be dumber or weaker or less ambitious than I am, just to be in a relationship with someone. And I dated people that, I dated people that were like, oh, you know, they were ready for marriage. They had me on paper, they looked great. But they would tell me that as an entrepreneur that I was like too busy. I was doing too much. I had, you know, they wanted someone who was going to be, you know, home and be a wife. You know, when you get married, you're going to have to let some of that go. Because I'm like, okay, we don't need to be together.
Oh, no.
So, you know, those are, I would say, as far as gender and racial barriers, as a woman who's an entrepreneur, those are some of the things that I've had that first come to mind that I've had to deal with. And, you know, I was blessed to finally be in a relationship with someone who is very supportive and actually, you know, says that I'm inspired by your ambition. And I mean, you know, is there and is always supporting what I'm doing. And I'm talking about things and he's just as excited as I am. And so, you know, I'm glad that I didn't give in to that mindset of, you know, doing what people thought in order for me to get a ring. And although I'm still single, I'm very happy with how things are. Like you said, Monique, I'm happy with how it is for me right now. Like, I don't feel like there has to be a race to the altar, because I know that everything happens in divine timing, and, you know, everything happens as it should. And this is where I am today, and it's all good. So yeah, it's crazy.
I love that. You have to. That's the only way. That's the only way you should show up, is authentically, because how is someone going to love you unconditionally if you're having, you know, you have the facade, or you're just on the surface and you're not really being who you are? No one can love you unconditionally. Show up authentically, and you'll find someone that's going to take you, flaws and all. And I've experienced that. And then I totally get what you're saying, Ivy. That's the whole basis around my work. Like, show up authentically. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us more about your, like, this is a perfect segue of how you help women find that clarity in their relationships and define what they want out of a relationship.
Okay. So let me just say the women that I work with. And so I see that we go through this phase where if you're not showing up as yourself and you get lost in your relationship, you're going to end up in an unsatisfied relationship at some point, whether it's 2 years down the line, 4 years, 7. And so you get to a point where you know you're unhappy and you just don't really know how to leave because you've invested time, effort, energy, you have kids, you have a house, a car, the whole nine, but you're miserable. And so I help women release unsatisfying relationship. And sometimes some of us feel even just obligated. You know, I've been here so long. I've said I'm going to be here. Let me just stay, even though we're not happy. And just that emotional roller coaster of it blocks your decision making. And so I help with gaining clarity around how to set aside the emotions and just be more decisive. You know, look at where you are, where you want to be, and you see that gap. You're not in that space, and you shouldn't have to live like that. And if you have kids, you're not showing a good role model of how relationships will function. You're basically saying my happiness is not important. I'm just going to suffer and settle just to be in a relationship. And so I help women release those unhealthy relationships. And whether you're the person wanting to leave, or even if your partner leaves you, you're going to have to heal from all of that. You got to heal from it. And so I work with women in that space as well. You have to really look at the lessons. I know when a relationship ends, it seems like it's a bad thing, but it's really not bad. If you shift your perspective, it's making you more wiser about love and life. There are a lot of lessons you could learn. And whenever you're experiencing something that you don't like, it's the perfect opportunity for you to get really clear about what you want instead. And that's how you gain that clarity. It's like a really simple process. When you're realizing that I don't like this doesn't feel good, it doesn't make sense for me, it's not working, I'm feeling confused or uncertain. Anytime you're in that space, you have to look at, I don't like this feeling. I prefer to feel this way. So what do I need to do to get over here? And you become more clear, like, okay, you can break up your steps or actions and whatever you need to do to get to that place. And at some point, you're going to heal. You're going to get past it. You're going to learn the lessons. You're going to get really clear about what you want to experience instead. So many different things could have happened as to why the relationship didn't work out. So you figure that out, make sense of it, heal, and then you're going to be in a better space to get into a relationship again. But you have to remember, I know that romantic relationships are important, but there's so much more to life. You know what I'm saying? There was a you before the guy. Like, you need to shift your focus back to you. What do you want out of life? If you have kids, what kind of parent do you want to be? I'm sure you have other relationships that are good in your life. Enhance those, embrace those, and engage in those type of relationships. There's things you might want to do in life overall. You know, usually when you're going through a long relationship and it's not working, you've slacked off on certain things. You're probably not pursuing your career or your goals. And so it's a time for you to refocus, and you'll get to that space where you'll heal and you'll feel good about yourself. And you're like, okay, I think I'm ready to love again. And that's the third phase that I help you through. You want to be held accountable to make healthy choices. If you're saying you want a guy like this and someone else shows up that's different, do not even waste your time. Don't operate from a desperate space and like, well, I don't want to be lonely anymore. And stick to your gun, because you will find somebody that's going to see you, like you said, Ivy, they're not going to limit you or try to tell you not to be this way, not to be that way. And you'll get into a space where you're ready to love again. And I can speak from that space because I was stuck when I was lost and I didn't show up authentically, and when I was just going with the flow and just, keeping myself muted. And I had that experience. And now I'm having a different experience. I'm having a better experience, showing up authentically, flaws and all, everything. And I'm still loved and I'm still appreciated. And no one has tried to manipulate me into being who they want me to be. I know the difference. And so I can speak from that space. And I see a lot of women that get stuck in that unsatisfied relationship, and it's hard to leave and release it. And so that's where my work comes from. And I actually have an ebook coming out. I don't have a title yet, but it's really around just releasing unsatisfying relationships and put yourself in a position to create something different and better. and so you can show up from a more self-loving and authentic space.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So how do you think that
So
like how do you think that like affects how do you think that affects women like in their careers with them being able to be happy in their relationships?
If they're not happy in their relationships, and how it affects their career?
Once they're able to, like you say, be in that space where they're authentic and in their they release the unhappy relationships, they do the healing, and now they're being held accountable and they're being authentic in their relationships. Like, what impact do you think that has on, you know, not just their career, but them being able to flourish in all the other areas of their life?
It's going to have a positive impact because you're going to be in such a better space emotionally, mentally. You're so sure about who you are and what you want. You're going to be more confident, and you're just going to be more sure about the choices that you're making. You're going to feel good. And then if there's any other relationships that haven't been good, you're going to be in a better space to address those things. You're just going to be in just have this sense of clarity and coming from a clearer perspective, because if you know what you want, you're not going to engage in anything that's not in alignment with that. And you're going to go through life feeling much better and feeling more connected to how you want to show up. You're not going to be confused and waste your time with things that's not in alignment with how you want to feel and what you want to do in life. And once you're in such a good space and you've learned skills to have emotional management, and you're more aware of how to have self-care and all those good things, and you know how to step back and pull back from things, you're just going to have a clearer mindset. You're going to have a different mindset. So in your work, you're going to be like on top of the world because you know what you want. And you don't have anything distracting you. You don't have the unhealthy relationship distracting you and keeping you stuck in a space that doesn't feel good. You're just in a better space overall. And you're more present. You're more present to engage with people. It affects everything in a positive way.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how like our relationships can affect our work. I mean, a lot of people don't want to, they feel like, oh yeah, what I do, and then, you know, my relationship, that's something separate. But let's be real, like our relationships have a big impact on how much energy we can bring to the table when it comes to, you know, actually pursuing our dreams, accomplishing our goals. Because you know, we know that as women, when things are broken at home or in our romantic relationships, we don't have that energy. Our creativity is off. We don't have the energy to manage work like we should. Yeah, so it makes all the difference. And another area that makes a difference is our spirituality and our connection with Creator. And I definitely want you to talk on that, Trelawney, because that's your area and what your book is coming out, and share how that connection to Creator makes all the difference in what we do as badass women.
Is she frozen?
Is she there?
Okay. No, I'm here, but on my screen, Ivy was still.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Did you get the end of the message?
Probably need to hear the question.
Hold on. Yeah. Who's off?
Let me see.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
You can?
Yeah, I can hear you. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, Ivy's on. But yeah, did you have a question?
No. Well, I heard she wanted me to talk about spirituality. What else was it? Because she was lagging.
She was saying when you have that connection to Creator. Is she coming back? Okay, with her.
Yeah, she's
okay.
Okay. So yeah, cool. My question was, how does your relationship with Creator affect like the work that we do as badass women and entrepreneurs and pursuing our dreams and goals? Because that's what your book is talking about, like that connection with Creator and spirituality.
Oh yes. Well, Creator, I think, regardless of how we identify who God is, what spirit is, that is us. you know, you're either, you know, in that's, you can pull from it. We're collectively, that's who we are, or that's who you are, your most high, your highest self, as people will call it. And so when you have a relationship with that, which is a relationship with self, then you can, you know, then go out and radically express yourself throughout the world. And when you can do that, then it shows up in what you do. It shows up because you need those real enriching experiences. Like, you need to show up in your relationship. When you show up in your relationship, then you find yourself speaking out. For example, for me, it was standing up to my mom. It was having the audacity to you know, show my voice there. And once I did that, then I realized I was able to do it on the job. I was able to do it in my relationship. I was able to do it better on paper as a writer. And that's what I get you to do, to basically go back and to bring God back to your table. That's what I say in the blurb. And basically what that means is confronting God, if you will, redefining God for yourself. Because I think when we're younger, we're taught who God is. And somewhere along the way, maybe that started conflicting. And so when you go back and you define God for yourself, and then you realize, you know, who it is and actually how you can communicate with it. Because the one I was taught, for example, it's a lot of things I could and couldn't say. It was a very fearful, it was a scary person. And even like, for example, my most passionate prayers were when I wanted something or when I needed something. But I felt really guilty about that back then. It was like, you don't just go to God when you just want something or you need something. But if that's when I'm passionate, if that's when I have something to say, then that's when I do it. And even I believe our spirituality shows up in our sexuality. I believe, you know, even that spirit, spirit is in how we dress, spirit is in how we speak, how we style our hair, and how we move, and just how we exist as beings, as women, and all of it. And as women particularly, because that's who this book is designed for. I think I'm hearing. Am I echoing?
No.
Okay, I'm echoing on my end. But you know, we have the womb space and that pelvic space, and I think Ivy even introduced us to wild feminine. And don't you love when you're in those areas, like when you're working with something and then you're seeing all this confirmation and it just feels really good.
Yeah,
that's kind of what that was for me. But it's like, and just learning even more about ourselves and the power that we hold there as women.
Yeah,
you know, and that was really powerful for me, and that's spiritual. And so, like everything that we do, I realized for me, especially writing, but all of our work as light workers, as people who do work that heals people, that teaches something, that, you know, I'm sorry, it's getting late. But any work that heals or teaches, or, you know, medicine. And, you know, and I feel like all of that's mind, body, and that's spirit. And so it's mental, it's physical, and basically physical meaning that, like right now, for example, I'm back on the 21-day Flutarian mode. And so I'm realizing, like, even just by feeding my body just more high vibrational foods and drinking more water, like I think better, I think clearer, I work more effectively. I'm not as ill focused as, you know, I sometimes can be. And so, and I don't know, yeah, and that's just what it's all about. Just making sure that you have that relationship and understanding that the connection that you have with spirit, that it is a relationship, and just treating it as such. Just make sure that you are effectively communicating. And what that means is being honest, showing up as who you are, you know, being specific, doing it often, and then actually listening as well. Because, you know, just as much, I guess, in any relationship, we communicating consists of listening. So then getting back into your moment and listening, mainly when you're in a spiritual aspect, is meditating. And meditating, you know, I've come to learn, doesn't always have to be just sitting, as my kids say, crisscross applesauce with your palms up and oming. As beautiful and as an effective that is, that's just not what it's limited to, you know.
Yeah.
And so we have that more with the simple spirituality course that Akila offers. You know, that's basically what opened that up for me. Just learning that, just laying down. I have a post on my Instagram. I'm just laying down on the beach watching my kids play. That's meditating. You know, folding laundry. If that's all I'm doing, that's meditating. I even love what Ivy said about not working at the computer, but going away from work to eat, mindfully eating, just taking my time to do just that one sole task. That's a spiritual act of, that's meditating, meditative eating, mindful eating, just being present in the moment. And so,
yeah. And I love that, because I think it's so important for us to redefine. And so you're giving us that permission and that space to say, let me redefine spirituality for myself and let me look at it to see how I can really show up in my life, because we just, you know, sometimes we just have this one way of thinking about it, and it doesn't always work for us. You know, I battled, just not even battle, but you know, I was raised going to church, and I always had so many questions about the Bible. When I would ask questions, the answers just didn't always, it didn't do it for me. And but I just always admire any faith when they're dedicated and they believe in their God and how they believe in it. And I used to be like, well, I want that, but I didn't want it in the way they had it. I didn't want to go to church every Sunday and sit in the pew. And I grew up in a church where you couldn't wear pants, you know. And then when I went to college at Clark Atlanta University, they had church in an auditorium. It wasn't a church building, and you could wear pants. And I was like, oh. And I just started opening up and just started to try to redefine for myself, what does religion? And then I finally was able to realize that I don't want to say I'm religious. I wanted to say I'm spiritual. Yeah. And it just kept expanding. And what's good, it's the self-inquiry and exploring. I'm big on journaling and exploring and being introspective. And when things come up, write it down and just go all in. Like, and so I think your book is going to be really, is that people need that, to have that permission and have that source to help them open up that space to say, what is spirituality for them? And that it's okay. Exactly. It's okay to, like you, give us the title of your book again.
Women Who Ain't Afraid to Curse When Communicating with God.
Yeah, I know the title. Look, I was saying it with you while you were.
It's good because to have that, to me, I like freedom. I like to.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to be free. Like in every way, shape, and form. You know what I'm saying? I want to be free with how I'm going to be spiritual, and be okay with that. In relationships, you know, I want to be myself. I don't want to get lost in it. Like, I love. Yes. I want to be with you, but I don't want to be lost the way I just don't know who I am. Like, it can't be that. You know what I'm saying? And I just like having that freedom.
And even what you said, losing yourself in a relationship. I know that some people, even me, I lost myself in the spirituality when I gave up the religion and went to spirituality. Like, I thought I needed an altar. I thought I needed all of these things that these spiritual people had, you know, or what defines spirituality versus religion. And I realized all I was doing was making spirituality then religious. I'm making it something. Yeah. But it's not it's my experience. And I think at the end of the day, that's what I want women or people, period. I want people to know it's your experience. It's your life. It's your relationship with God. No one else can dictate that or say how that goes.
Yeah.
It's what feels right and what works for you, because that's what it is. That's why we need it, because we need it to help us manifest those things that we want and that we need.
Yeah.
And no one can do that better than you.
Yeah. Than yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. You have to learn how to like define. I grew up in church as well. When I say church, I mean like 24/7. And growing up, I also went to religious school, so Christian school, from kindergarten to 12th grade. So it was like very ingrained. So when I got in my 20s, I changed from the church that I grew up in and experienced a different church that was a little more eclectic. And so that kind of like started the opening up process for me, in understanding that there are many ways that you could connect with God and connect with spirituality. And I think in the past few years, particularly, interestingly enough, the past 2 years when I've been a full-time entrepreneur have been my most spiritual years in my whole entire life. And they've been the years that I've been most connected to Creator, because it's like there's something about living out your dream and living out your full potential that puts you it doesn't have to always be like quitting your job or being an entrepreneur, but just walking in the path of who you were created to be, that I feel like you have a different connection with spirituality.
Yep.
And I think it also takes your mind out of like that robotic mindset that you can have when you're just going to work, coming home, because it kind of breaks up that monotony, and you have that freedom in your mindset, and it opens up freedom in so many other areas of your life. And so I started realizing that, on Sunday, that's, spiritual connection for me could be reading, Wild Feminine, and like really sitting with what I read, and journaling, or it could be watching Super Soul Sunday. I mean, there's been plenty of times I've watched Super Soul Sunday and I'm in tears, and it's touching me, and it's like healing me in places that I've never been healed before. And it's, I was like, what? And I can watch the same episode a couple of times and hear something different. So I've learned that I don't have to feel shame or judgment or guilt around, you don't do this or you don't do that. What other people feel is a connection to God, because I know what my relationship is with spirituality and what my relationship is with God. And that's what matters. And I can see evidence of that through my own evolution. Like I spoke at the very beginning of who I used to be and where I was, and all the broken places in me that, have now bloomed and flourished. And so for me, that's evidence of my connection to God. So I don't have to have all that pomp and circumstance to be like, I know God.
Yeah. And I just, when you said feeling shame, my mom, and my mom is Caribbean. So whenever I think of her, her accent comes out. Monique, did you go to church today? And I used to be like, oh, no, and I used to feel a way about it, and try to justify, well, I'll go next week. And I ain't go to church, and that's it. Yeah. My church is at the bookstore because my son goes with his dad on Sundays. That's my time. Okay. So church for me is at the bookstore, drinking my latte, writing in my journal, reading magazines, going through a book, planning my week, doing business stuff, and I'm in a good space and I feel good. And when my son comes back to me, I'm refreshed, I'm in a good space, I'm like, ready for the week. And so it's what you make it. And I don't feel guilty about it. I used to go to the Easter Sunday and get the outfits and and I don't have to do that. And I don't feel guilty if someone says, did you go to church today? And it's Easter Sunday or something. It's like, oh my God. And then I feel me, like if I haven't gone all year, I really don't want to, it don't make sense to me to be. Yeah.
And how many times have you had like that divine experience on like brunch or something like that with your girlfriends on a Sunday, and you get that something special that like totally shifts your life, or something that you've been searching for or asking for, and you're like, and that's like your church service there.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be on a Sunday, and I'm gonna share this. So
or any day. Sorry,
So no, not to So I love Brandy. I'm like, I love the singer, and she's like elevating at such a different level right now. And she did an interview recently. She's just in this.
I need to check her out.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you the link to her. She did because she was doing Broadway, Chicago, and so she did a couple of interviews and just shared how she was really depressed and how she got out of that. And she talks about that spiritual stuff, Charlene. So you know.
Wow.
And and so she did an interview, and it was like a different type of interview, and it literally left me in tears. And she didn't say anything. And so to me, that's spirit connecting with me. It was just, I just started journaling, and it just took me to such a good, it wasn't tears of sadness. It was just, I just felt something different, higher. It just felt good in a spiritual space. And to me, it's like, that was my church. And it was, I don't know what day of the week it was early, 9 o'clock in the morning. And so, and to me, when you have those things, like people go to church on Sunday and on Monday, you're like, you sure you went to church? Like, so to me,
or in the parking lot, it don't even have to be that.
It don't gotta be the next day.
They'll cut you off, curse you out, make fun of people while they're sitting there, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And so it's in music. I could listen to some type of music, and music would get me in a space. And I learned a long time ago about meditation, like you were saying, Trinity. Like, it doesn't have to be you sit and you and do that.
Yeah.
I learned that it could be a word, script, or something, and you could say it. And so one of the things that what I learned, that the lady was talking about, be still and know that I am God. She was like, she'll be washing the dishes and she'll say it, and she'll be doing whatever and she'll say it, and that's meditative to her. So if it's a mantra, affirmation, whatever it is, you can meditate on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's all giving yourself that permission to redefine things to fit you in your life.
Well, ladies, I want to wrap up. Is there anything that you all want to share with our audience, or anything that we haven't touched on that you want to make sure that we share before we close out?
You go ahead, Charlie.
Well, I guess just going back to the title, because you asked us in the beginning, like, what makes us a badass. I think it's important for just the audience to assess that for themselves too. Like, what makes them a badass, and how can they, even take that to another level? Like, because that's what I've been thinking about through this. Like, how can I be even more of a badass? And for me, like, I can associate that with a scary, exciting feeling. Like, my goals, my dreams, they usually scare the shit out of me, and they excite me too. So it's just like, think about those, bear those in mind. Just, what's scary and exciting for you, and just keep that in, make a to-do list for it. Be a badass, and just go for it. Do, even if it's a small, break it down in steps and do the first step. Do what you can, when you can. Do what you can right now. And that's it, just be the badass that you want to be. Take the glimpse, like Ivy said, the glimpse of who you want to be, and become her. Actually become her. Don't just leave her sitting on the shelf up there.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I would say my, if nothing else to get from me is to always, and I know being authentic is like this trendy word. But if you detach from it being trendy and really break it down and think about it, it's the best way to show up in life, in everything you do, as a parent, any role that you're playing in life, in your business, anything. And the way to do that is you have to have time for yourself and reflect, journal, write things down. Be really clear about what you want and what you don't want, what you like, what you don't like, how you want to engage in relationships. Just have a strong sense of clarity about that, and then show up, be this really strong version of yourself, a brave version of yourself, an authentic version of yourself, your best self, your whole self. It starts from you. You are in everything that you engage in. So if something doesn't feel good, explore it and then do something about it. Yeah.
I love that. Like what both of you are saying, I think of the quote where it says, I love the woman I become because I work so hard I love the woman I am because I work so hard to become her.
Yes.
And I think that kind of like wraps up the whole badass woman thing, where it's like, you can own it and you can stand in it because you work so hard to get there, and that, like you said, Trini, you didn't just see that woman and be like, I don't know. I love the fact that I don't have to live wondering what, looking down the road at, I wonder what that Ivy was like, but to know that I did the work, and not that I'm complete or anywhere near finished, but that I've put the work in to become what I am now, and I'm still working to become even better. So I think that, like, as a badass woman, you just take on that challenge and be like, what, I want to see like just how badass I can become. Like,
yes.
how much better can this get? That, like, that's the thing, and like going after it. And even in those moments where it gets hard, because you're like, what, I just want to, and I know I've had those ones like, what, I just want to be just where I don't want to change. I don't want to grow. I don't want to work. I don't want to, like, I'm good here. I just want to just be nothing. It's like,
that's true.
You just don't want to do the work. And so
I want to piggyback off of that Ivy, because that's why it's important to have a coach.
Oh, yes.
Push you
Yes.
from that space. Akila, she'll get you get pushed and you get uncomfortable. But you need that. That's the only way to grow. That's how you're gonna expand. That's how you're gonna know if there's something better on the other side, further up, up here, down here. How else would you know? And so a coach has that focus. They're there to support you, hold you accountable, stretch you, and just help you to, if you're saying I'm here and I want to be this badass. Okay, so this is what you need to do, but you need someone to push you there. You need someone to help you just examine certain things, get out of your limiting belief system. And a coach is the perfect person for that.
You got me over here writing notes.
I know, and I'm gonna piggyback off of Mo real quick and just add, because it's a part in the book that I shared with fears. It's like we always talk about going for it and making the jump, but that really is so much easier said than done. Yeah. But one thing that I started doing is just because usually with fear, for me, it shows up as like, what if? Like I'm always asking myself, like when I wanted to quit my job, for example, like what if it don't work out? Like what if I can't pay my bills? Or like with my son, like what if he don't learn enough? So it comes up as a what if. Usually if you just go ahead and answer the question, you will see it ain't even as bad as it seems. Okay, what if I can't pay my bills? I'll go back to work.
Yeah.
What if, if you just answer the question, you will see that it's really not that scary. It's not, it's not that bad.
Just your thoughts. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That was a good point. I'm like reading your name, relationship clarity. That was a good point. That was a good point, relationship clarity. That was a good point, Monique, that I think like summarizes all of this and like what all of us do and the work that we do and how like poignant and powerful and meaningful it is in the earth. Because, it's like for women to get to that point of being a badass woman, you can't do it by yourself. I don't care how much you think you can. And I'm not saying that to talk anybody down, but it's like you need a tribe, you need a support system.
Yes, you do.
You need a coach, because there comes those days where you want to give up on yourself, and you need those people, like you said, Mo, around you to nurture you and to encourage you and to sometimes just hold you while you just can do nothing but just sit there, and then they're like, okay, are you ready to get back up and try it again? But if you're out there by yourself,
no accountability.
It takes longer. It's hard. It takes longer. It's harder. And if someone can say, I've been where you were, and I've gotten here, and I can show you. And of course, we show you in a way that's going to work for you. So we don't say, these are the tools, these are the strategies, this is what I did, but how would that fit into your life? Take what you need from that, what resonates with you, what's going to work with your schedule, whatever. And you say, but we know this process or this formula works. So apply it in a way that works for you. And I know I've benefited a lot from having Akila in my life and just pushing me. And because from where I was to where I am now, I'm not the same person.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I could say, and this was 5 years ago. I left my job in 2010. I'm not this, and I'm so better off for it. Like I'm having her support and just thrive. And someone you can call, be like, oh my gosh, like in the fears you have with being an entrepreneur and the fears you have with stepping out and showing up. And we talk about it all. We have these conversations with each other. But when you have somebody you can call, and then it still motivate you, and not going to say, girl, you probably just need to go and get your 9 to 5,
Yeah.
Right.
Who's not going to judge you. Yeah. Give you the space to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, look, this is what it is. And then I'm like,
exactly.
Oh, no judgment. Like, okay, I like this space.
Yeah. And it saves you time and money, because you don't have to waste the time to go through, the mistake or the money to buy this. Yeah. Lord, because when I published my first book, I spent so much unnecessary money. It's not even funny, but
yeah. I know a friend of a client, and I had to do the co-parenting, and she got into a space where she had to do co-parenting. It probably took me like good 4 years to kind of get it, and she's getting it in like less than a year, because I'm there like, look,
Yeah.
do this, don't do that. So it cuts down that time and that curve, that learning curve that you could be like, yeah. So coaches,
Yes.
body relationship coach, writing coach, relationship clarity coach, and then Akila,
a voice coach.
Yes. With Akila,
Radical
Akila's thing would be radical self-expression. I mean, she'll probably say some more fly stuff, but Akila, we got you.
Yes. I call her SBLS's godmommy. Between that and being SBLS,
I love that.
She was like the midwife because she was the one that helped me push SBLS out. It was like, because Bo, I was like, what? No.
Think about it for let me Ivy got things. She's like,
it took me like 2 weeks. I was like, I don't think that's
and I'm
me.
like, yes. Ivy's like, then Akila's like, that's it.
I was like, no, I don't think that's me.
I love it though.
So that shows you what a coach can do, like to pull it out. And that's how I'm telling you, she reminds me of a midwife because you're like, and she's like, pull that thing on out, like, pull it on out.
Yeah.
It's been awesome, ladies. Anything else before we wrap it up?
That's it. Thank you so much for having us.
For coming. I'm sorry Akila had to drop off.
I know.
Yeah, but hopefully she gets to see the replay and we can try. We can do it again, of course, another time. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ivy. Everybody have a good night. Bye, Trelawney. I'm gonna send you the link.
Bye, Ivy. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Okay. Bye, Jamie, and everybody else present.
Yes, thank you. Thank you guys for joining and interacting with us. We appreciate it.
Exactly.
And Jamie, thank you for hanging with us all this time.
I know it's all the time.
We made a Malcolm X movie. All right.
Why Malcolm? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good night.
Good night.
And just surviving. My son has chronic illnesses. He's had over 20-something surgeries, and just having the emotional resilience to deal with that, to still be smiling, still be in good spirits, still have a positive and optimistic attitude about life, and just expecting great things for him despite the health challenges. But just doing that and being authentic and just doing something about stuff that doesn't feel right. So I think, that's
feels. I remember that one. Doing something about stuff that doesn't feel right. That's tweetable.
Yes, tweet as Oprah says.
That's right.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's badass. I left a 7-year relationship and that I got lost in and didn't settle, didn't stay for the external, I'm married and the title and all that stuff. I just, I had to find myself and do what I had to do, even if I was going to be a single mom. So that's a lot of people settle in situations like that, but couldn't do it.
Yeah, all of that is definitely badass. For me, I would say that one of the first things that comes to mind for me is that I went from over 25 years of body hate, of low self-esteem, of feeling down about myself, being separated from my body, feeling pain when I looked in the mirror, meaning pain with my reflection that was looking back at me, to becoming a person who worked through that pain, who did the work, who did the healing work, who faced the things that were issues, to come on the other side of that and become a person who is now sharing that journey with other people and helping them do that healing and do that work and encouraging them to love their bodies and telling them that it's possible. To me, I feel like that's the most badass thing that I've done in life. And to come from, a background of abuse, physical, sexual, verbal, all kinds of abuse that you could think of, and to become a woman who's confident and bold and strong and who feels beautiful. All right, we are live for Badass Women Wednesday, revolutionary and radical female entrepreneurs. I am Ivy, the body relationship coach, if I can say my own name, at cbodyloveself.org. And this idea came to me because I know so many badass women in my life, and I have a really awesome tribe and network. And I was like, you know what? I want to share these women with the world and celebrate them. So I picked 3 of my most favorite to start the night out and asked them to come hang out with me tonight so we can chat. So they're here.
Yay!
And we're happy to be here.
This is the Radical Selfie crew. If you all haven't heard of them before, Akila, can you type in the comments so they can get your link for the Radical Selfie goodness, and you guys can check them out whenever you feel like it. But let's start from clockwise and let everybody. I hope we all have the same view, but let's let everybody introduce themselves. I think that's you first, Mo.
I knew it.
Why she gotta call you?
Okay. Hi, my name is Monique Halley, or Monique Allison, and I'm a relationship clarity coach for women. And so I help women go through different phases in their relationship journey. And as we continue, I'll share more about that. My website is relationshipclaritycoaching.com.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about just you personally, like some of something that we don't know? Like
I know, I'm like
something unique.
Something unique.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're putting me on the spot. Let's see what's unique about me. I took guitar lessons a long time ago. And I still have the guitarist in my attic, but one day I'll go back and take lessons and try to do the guitar thing. But that's something different.
That is different. I didn't know that. Well, yeah, I knew that you
I actually.
Go ahead.
So I'm sorry. I actually made the guitar case. Like I hand sewed it, got the material, and got my brother to do some art on it and everything. Like I went all in.
Okay, I feel like I know what
Yeah, I know what she said, but I don't know what
I know what she said too, but everybody else is probably like, what?
I'm like, my intuitive voice tells me that you said it's the people you attract.
It's
yes,
she's going the right way.
And her tribe.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
Oh. Okay. Your Trelawney, can you share with us what makes you a badass woman?
Yeah, I'm gonna kill on this one. This is a pretty easy one, fortunately. What makes me a badass woman is that I'm not afraid to do it anyway. Like even when I'm scared to do something, if I really want to do it, I'm gonna still do it. I'm gonna take those super big old risks and chances, and I'm gonna do it anyway. What else makes me a badass woman? That I actually created the life that I wanted to live, that I wasn't afraid to quit the quote unquote the security, to quit the job and do it on my own. I wasn't afraid to, well, I did it anyway. I pulled my son out of school and I decided to homeschool him. That I actually have a yoni egg inside of me right now.
That is badass.
And that I'm not afraid to curse when communicating with God.
Awesome.
Wow. I don't know if I could top that.
That's probably it for me tonight.
Right.
You think so? Okay. I'm assuming I'm next.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, badass. Okay. I left my 9 to 5 And I have a son. I'm a mom of a 10-year-old son. At the time, he was like 6 or 7. And so my son has chronic illnesses. And so it's the same thing like Trelawney, the security of health insurance and not really having the means to really do it. But when something doesn't feel right, just being badass enough to do something about it and not just settle. You know what I'm saying? And so I left my 9 to 5, figured out a way to get health insurance for my son. And being an entrepreneur, and then I stopped. So.
Oh wow, yeah, I definitely didn't know that. So I'm like, do I really know you like that? Now look at Charlie trying to think before we. You're up, Charlie. It's your turn.
I'm Trelawney Michelle. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'm a spiritual writing coach. So what I do is I help particularly women, who want to write, and maybe they are perfectionists or they're procrastinators, both of which I closely identify with, and I help them get it done. Usually they have like really long to-do lists as well, but they are still ready to do it, and I help them do that. My website is sofundamental.com. And I'll be talking about more what I do also later. And I'm a mother of 2 beautiful children, a writer. I have 3 books: What the Devil Meant for Bad, Getting Across, Purple Petals, and I have one coming up, which I'm super duper excited about, which I'll also talk about more later. And that's Women Who Ain't Afraid to Curse when Communicating with God. And that title even still just makes me feel and that's.
Let me give you some feels for that one.
Hey.
Yeah, you got happy about those bills. All right, Akila, you are up.
All right, so there's a little delay after, so hopefully y'all can hear and see me just fine. I'm Akila S. Richards. I'm over at radicalselfie.com, and my work is really about helping women remember how to explore and express themselves. I just believe in being you as often as possible. And there's so many layers to life that, cause us to be everything but who we are. And my work is really just about unearthing that space and uncovering those layers so you can really be you in business, in the mirror, in your relationships. And I just love being in spaces like this where we're talking about what it takes to be you more. That's it.
Awesome. And like I said, I am Ivy, and I'm the body relationship coach. And I help people develop loving, healthy relationships with their bodies. And so when people have broken relationships or distance with their bodies, or if they're struggling with body image, I support people by helping them use holistic health and self-care to reconnect with their bodies in a loving way. So that's me. So the first thing that I want to ask tonight is the easy question, the most important question, and that is, what makes you a badass woman? So let's start with Akila.
Okay, I was like,
That's easy. That's an easy question. What makes me a badass woman is the tribe that I'm a part of. Like attracts like, and there's mirrors all over the place. And a part of how I know how I'm living is badass is the type of woman that I attract in my circle. So just the self-expression work.
Everything you said just broke up.
Is that a signal?
Yeah, you were breaking up.
Oh, I was like,
I was like, oh, that.
I didn't know what that was.
I was like, were they wires? I thought they were wires.
I was like, she's doing gang signs. I mean,
okay, you want to try it again?
Do over.
Okay.
Yeah, you're still.
Yeah.
Yeah, like open, but
You're not here.
Might have to leave out and come back in.
logged out, and I'm logging back in.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's see. Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, I see my hey. I would say that's better. So for me, what I think makes me a badass is the tribe that I roll with. Like the women who are in my circle, the evidence that I attract, what is that I am, you know, both on both sides of the coin, both in friendships and both in terms of clients. And so I know I'm going